Hey everyone, Hfmasters here, and today I'm finally going to just sit down and talk about Ninjago Season 11 in depth. Now, as you know, this season finished airing a while ago, although, I guess in the US it only finished just recently, but we first saw the finale around November, so why am I doing this video now when Season 12 is supposedly only around 2 weeks away? Well, I've always wanted to do this video, but I also wanted to sit on it for a little bit and really kind of flesh out my thoughts on this season because, make no mistakes about it, Season 11 is bad. For Ninjago standards, it's really bad, and honestly, it's probably the worst flags multi-episode season we've gotten, but I will give it some credit because it also is the most experimental season that we've gotten. But let's actually get into the season, starting with that brand new format. The change from a single story-based 22-minute episode to two different 11-minute episodes is probably the most drastic change that Ninjago has ever made. It has completely changed the way seasons are presented, and it really does show. However, was this change really worth it? Obviously, Season 11 is the only season that we've actually seen in this format, so there's going to be some bumps in the road, but I think an argument can be made that the 11-minute format was both this season's greatest strength and greatest weakness. The most obvious benefit is that the 11-minute episode allowed for the creators to be more creative with the episodes and keep things fresh and original, and there are a couple other benefits that I'll get into later, but for Season 11, just as a whole, I think for the most part that the new format really just held it back more than anything, although I don't think that's going to be a long-term issue. It's very obvious watching this season during the Fire chapter that they really didn't have a grasp on how to properly do these shorter episodes, so everything just kind of feels off. The characters don't really feel like themselves, there was weird pacing throughout this whole season, and of course we have those filler episodes, and I'm sure a lot of people just want to chalk this up to Braggy being the writer now instead of the Hfmasters, and yeah, I guess to some extent that's true, but I don't really blame him for this season's problems. It's not his first season of Ninjago. If you remember, he did write Hands of Time, which, if you rewatch that season, it's actually really underrated. It is night and day. If you watch Season 12 and Season 7 back to back, Hands of Time is so much better. But what that season really proves to me is that Braggy knows what he's doing. He understands these characters and he understands the lore, but it doesn't come off that way because the 11-minute format was not working. By the time we get to the Ice chapter though, it does start to get a lot better. They got more familiar with the style and the episodes became better, so I'm sure this isn't going to be a problem in Prime Empire, but unfortunately for Season 11 it was a little bit of a trial run and they really did not know how to properly do these episodes right, and it really messed with the flow of the whole season. The characters in this season are fine. The ninja for the most part are pretty good. The only one that I don't really like here is Kai, and I guess Jay can be a little bit annoying at times because they really lean into the comic relief aspect of his character without ever really having him do anything serious to balance it out, but Kai just does not work well here. As I said earlier, I am giving Braggy a small pass because I know he can do the ninja well. Even Kai, who kind of sucks here, he did very well in Hands of Time, and honestly I think the Hfmasters kind of started the Kai problem just going from Season 8. He's a completely different character, so hopefully they can kind of bring him back to what he used to be before Season 8, but that remains to be seen. Now, these new characters are not good. Revenge Snake seriously might be one of the worst characters from this entire show. She is not fleshed out even a little bit, and her motives don't even make sense. Like, she betrays Wu by using Spinjitzu for evil, Wu stops her, and then she's mad at Wu, which that seems like it would make sense, because yeah, that would make sense, but that's not what happens. Sphere is completely fine with Wu coming to stop her. She's got no problem with that. She's upset because Wu uses the Scroll of Forbidden Spinjitzu to stop her, which makes no sense because their agreement was that Wu would teach her how to do Spinjitzu, and if she used Spinjitzu for evil, then he would come and stop her. So nothing from the agreement was broken. Like, Forbidden Spinjitzu is an entirely separate thing, so Sphere's motives are just stupid. And then for the 90% of the time that she's even on screen, she's just screaming revenge the whole time, so yeah, she does not work for me. And then we have the Ice chapter where we have the Ice Emperor, which is better than Asphira, but I still don't think it was really anything special. Like, in a vacuum, Zane as the Ice Emperor is good, but you know, the actual idea of one of the ninja becoming corrupted and then the other ninja having to find that out and kind of deal with their friends being gone could have been some really, really good storytelling, and there was so much cool stuff they could have done with it, but they really don't do anything with it at all. Like, Zane just sits around and we never get to see him do anything. Lloyd is the only ninja who even sees Zane as the Ice Emperor. The rest of the ninja just kind of like accidentally figure it out and then they just move on instantly. They just notice the dragon is made out of ice, and Nia says,
"Somehow, Zane is the Ice Emperor."
And then they don't even really react to it, they just move on. Like, this is a main character of the entire show and one of their best friends, and they just wait until the final episode for most of the ninja to even find out that he became evil, and then they spend quite literally 30 seconds on it. That's just a huge waste of potential there. So, you know, I guess the Ice Emperor was okay, but I just look at it and it just feels like a really big waste of a character there. Akita is the only new character from the season, which I thought was done really well. She shares the revenge motive, which is annoying to see immediately after Asphira because they kind of really tired that out really fast, but I think that she was pretty interesting and she paired very well with Lloyd, and I also just like the whole concept of the Formlings in general. Just everything about Akita works well for me. And then the other side characters like Sorla, Crag, and Kotaru, I thought those were fine, but they definitely could have been better. And then Vex was just a scrub, but I already talked about him in another video, so I'm not going to get into that here. But now we got to address the elephant in the room. I've already talked a little about each of these episodes specifically, so I'm not going to go in depth on that aspect of this. But the filler is the absolute worst part of this season. When I heard they were switching to the 11-minute format, my biggest concern was that they were going to do too many filler episodes. My initial thought was that the whole reason of doing the 11-minute format would be so that they could solve one of Ninjago's biggest problems, which is that it had been too story reliant, which doesn't sound like it should be a problem, but let me explain it here. So, in the past, pretty much every episode would have some stake in the plot, with I guess the exception being in season 2, but you would basically need to watch every single episode to understand the story, which is great for being able to make the show as entertaining as possible, but it's horrible to actually have to air and also to have to bring in new fans 10 seasons in. So just look at it from the perspective, say, of Cartoon Network. If you have a show and you get roughly 8 episodes and each of them are heavily story-based, well, now if you want to air this show, you have to make a time slot to air every other episode with it, because otherwise you're going to leave people annoyed because they don't get to see how the story continues or how it ends. But if you change the format to 2 11-minute episodes in a 30-episode season, now you have room to add in some fun filler episodes that aren't really significant to the overall plot, and they can be aired separately at their own at pretty much any time. It should be a win-win scenario for everyone. We still get the full season, and then Cartoon Network will get some fun, non-story based episodes to air whenever they feel like it. Except that these episodes are just not done well here at all. In order to make filler episodes work, you need to change a lot from what they were actually doing here. Most importantly, you can't have the filler constantly break up the flow of the actual story. This season is really bad at knowing when to place a filler episode and when not to. The most annoying case is at the end of one episode, Lloyd literally finds out Zane is the Ice Emperor, and then immediately they follow it with a filler episode. This is not how you do filler. This is just annoying to watch. People get invested in the story and then you take them right out of it, and they do this at least 5 times in this season. And then to top it off, they have all this filler and none of it is usable because they don't do 2 filler episodes in a row ever, which I know 2 filler episodes in a row sounds like it'd be even more annoying to watch, but it's the only way to actually give Cartoon Network something they could air whenever they feel like airing it. The way I would have done the filler episodes is I would have combined the 2 filler episodes and then kind of make them like one giant subplot. So, for example, the absolute worst is probably the worst episode of this entire season. It has the villains tell these stupid stories while they escape, and then they are immediately captured the moment they get out. It's completely filler, it's pointless, I would never watch it again. But to fix this, I would have let the villains go to Ninjago and just kind of start raining terror, and then instead of having Pixel fight the Preeminent in that other filler episode, I would just have Pixel fight the villains that escaped in the following episode. I think this way it would at least kind of give it some sort of thing, you know, it would be less annoying, I think, because at least it would feel like you're getting one kind of connected subplot, which, you know, I think that'd be more entertaining to watch than something that is just completely pointless in the long run. And then that way, you know, Cartoon Network gets their episodes to air whenever they feel like it. And then, of course, the other thing I would have done here is that I would have placed these episodes in between the Ice chapter and the Fire chapter while the story was at kind of a bit of a standstill. Honestly, this season is just so much better if you just straight up skip all these filler episodes entirely, which is really sad to say. It's just, if you just don't watch these episodes, it's gonna be that much more enjoyable. Like, how sad is that? That it's just better to entirely skip them. But honestly, the biggest problem of the filler isn't even that they break up the flow of the season. The biggest issue with them is that they do so much of it that they straight up ran out of episodes to finish the ninjas' arcs, so they had to just super rush it at the end. In the finale, we see 3 story arcs be finished. In 11 minutes, they finished 3 full character arcs, okay? Let me take you through this last episode. So, Akita tries to attack Zane, but Lloyd won't let him. Then, Lloyd's friends try to escape, but they get captured by Vex. Then Ninja discovers Zane is the Ice Emperor, but the dragon starts attacking them. Then Nia controls the ice, but the dragon's still okay, so I guess that entire arc was pointless. Then Kai regains his powers. Lloyd's fighting Zane. Akita gets frozen. Vex is here. Zane regains his memories. Everyone gets unfrozen. Everyone reunites. Vex is banished. The ninja can't return. Cole has some random berry. The ninja have returned. But wait a second, where's Cole and Lloyd? The portal's closing, they can't make it through. And they do all of this in one episode. And yes, it is extremely rushed. It's very terrible, and I left a lot of stuff out. And like I said, this results in just these arcs don't work really at all. Like I said, Nia's arc is terrible. It's pretty much pointless. She controls the ice, it doesn't even work, and then they immediately move on and they never bring it up again. Guarantee this entire Nia controlling ice thing is going to be dropped forever. It's going to be like Air Jutsu, but more forgettable. Kai also had multiple arcs in this season, and pretty much all of them are rushed, but I thought the regaining powers one was actually done well here. So that one, this is the only one that they actually spread across the entire ice chapter. That's why I think it was done well. The other ones were pretty much just done in one episode. So this arc was actually good, and then Zane regaining his memories was fine, but like I said, it was super rushed, and I really wish instead of having Vex just kind of basically deliver what it's kind of a throwaway line for him, I really wish the ninja would have been the one to actually remind Zane of his memories. Like, they played up his relationship with Pixel so much in the season, it would have made so much sense that they had something related to her be what brought him back. So for some closing thoughts here, a lot of the biggest issues I think stemmed mainly from switching over to that new 11-minute format. I think that's the biggest issue, but I don't think it's going to be an issue moving forward. I do think Prime Empire is going to be a much better season than Season 11 was, and we'll see in time how much better it'll be, because I imagine it's only going to get better the further we get into it and the more they get used to this new format. But this is probably my longest video ever. It's going to be like maybe 15 minutes. That's actually like pretty crazy, but yeah, comment Nick's bad if you watch the video. It'll annoy my brother. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Till next time, see you guys later.